Giridharadhari Vijanavalabha Giridharadhari Yashodanandana Prachachanaranjana Yashodanandana Prachachanaranjana Yashodanandana Prachachanaranjana Yodhananandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Jayarata Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayarata Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayarata Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayarata Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Prabhupada ki Jai. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Guru Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Guru Bhakta Vrinda. So we're reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 24. This is still the discussion about the Atmaram verse since the last couple of months. And actually this section, let me see. Text 154 to 164 are 6 more explanations of the Atmaram verse, basically describing the worshippers of the Super Soul, the Antrayami Upashakasa. So those yogis who meditate on the Paramatma, they are described in these shlokas. So 2 texts were read last Sunday, and I will just read through this section so that we, the next speaker can start a new section. And it's a little technical, it just describes the different yogis, and then we will get back to this text that we have here. So I'll just read text 154 and 5, and then we come to today's shloka. The yogi who worships the supersoul within himself is also called Atmarama. So the Atmarama shloka describes the Atmarama. Atmarama is the self-realized soul. And there is now a description of how the word Atmarama can be understood in different ways. And one way to understand Atmarama is as a yogi. So that's why we have this discussion on the yogi. And among these yogis, there are 2 types of Atmaram yogis. The 2 types of Atmaram yogis are called Sagarbha and Nigarbha. Each of these is divided into 3. Therefore, there are 6 types of worshippers of the Supersoul. And basically, the Sagarbha yogi is the one who worships or meditates on the form of Vishnu, personalist. And the Nigarbha is the one who worships the Supersoul without form. Is impersonalist, right? And then, according to their stage of realization, there is each three categories of each of these yogis. Each 3 stages of realization makes 6 kind of yogis. And then we come to today's shloka. And today's shloka, actually, this is verses from Srimad Bhagavatam 2:8. It's a quotation from the Bhagavatam. Kechit svadehantara hridaya vakshe pradeshamatram purusham vasantam chaturbhujam kanja rathanga sankha Gadha dharma dharanaya smaranti Kechit svadehantara hridaya vakshe Pradesha matram purusham vasantam Chaturbhujam kanja rathanga shankha Gadhadharam dharanayasya smaranti Smaranti. Deshavatram purusham vasantam Chaturbhujam kanjaratanga shankha Gadhadharam dharanaya smaranti. Kechit svadehantara hridaya vakshe Pradeshamatram purusham vasantam Chaturbhujam kanjaratanga shankha Gadhadharam dharanaya smaranti. Vaishnavis. Kechit svadehantara hridaya vakshe Pradeshamatram purusham vasantam Chaturbhujam Kancharatanga Shanka Gadhadharam Dharanaya Smaranti. Kechit. Some of them. Svadeha Antaha. Within one's own body. Hridhaya Avakshe. In the cavity of the heart. Pradhesha Matram. With a measurement of 6 inches. Purusham, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasantam, residing. Chatubhujam, with 4 hands. Kanja, a lotus flower. Ratha Anga, a disc like the wheel of a chariot. Shanka, conch shell. Gadadharam, holding the club. Dharanaya, by such contemplation. Smaranti, they remember. Translation. By His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Some yogis think of the Lord within their hearts as measuring about 6 inches. The Lord has 4 hands in which He holds a conch shell, club, disc and lotus flower. Those who worship this form of Vishnu within their heart are called Sagarbha yogis. And translation, this verse is from Srimad Bhagavatam 2.2.8. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Namobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadati Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, as we mentioned before, there is the Sagarbha yogis and the Nirgarbha yogis. The Sagarbha yogis are those who meditate on a personal form, and the Nirgarbha yogis are those who are impersonalists, right? And here is a description of how the Sagarbha yogis meditate. They meditate about Paramatma in the heart, with the 4-handed form of the Lord, which holds a conch shell, club, disc, and lotus flower. And in the purport, I will just read part of the purport of this text from Bhagavatam. The all-pervading personality of Godhead resides as Paramatma in the heart of each and every living entity. The measurement of the localized personality of Godhead is estimated to expand from the ring finger to the end of the thumb. Ring finger, I mean, of course you can see, what is the ring finger? Here? So, that's the size of the Paramatma in the heart. So now you know how big Paramatma is. The form of the Lord described in this verse with this distribution of different symbols, beginning from the lower right hand up and down to the lower left hand, with lotus, wheel of chariot, conch shell and club, respectively, is called Janardana, or the plenary portion of the Lord who controls the general masses. There are many other forms of the Lord with varied situations of the symbols of lotus, conch shell, and they are differently known as Purushottam, Achyuta, Narsingha, Trivikrama, Rishikesha, Keshava, Madhava, Aniruddha, and a long list of names. So depending on where the conch is holding, left hand, right hand, and the 4 symbols, they change, and then there's different names, different forms. So that's the meditation of the meditation of these Sagarbha yogis. I'll just read the other shlokas from this section, and then I will try to speak more about this topic. So the next text, text 57, is also quotation from the Bhagavatam 3:28-34, which will be the main. I'll try to speak on this text. Evam haro bhagavati pratilapta labhavo bhaktya travatritaya utpulaka pramodhat autkantaya bhashap kalaya muhur ardayaman tachcha pichitta padisham shankair viyunkte. When one is in ecstatic love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one's heart is melted by Bhakti Yoga and one feels transcendental bliss. There are bodily symptoms manifest, and due to eagerness there are tears in the eyes. Thus one is subjected to spiritual bliss. When a heart is overly afflicted, the meditative mind, like a fish hook, is gradually separated from the object of meditation. This is also a quotation from Bhagavatam 3:28-34. So this is more detailed description on the yogi's meditation, and we come back to this one. Just read the other shlokas. By these three divisions of advancement in yoga, Yoga Rurukshu, Yoga Rudha, and Prapti Siddhi, there are 6 kinds of mystic yogis. So 2 kinds, those who are impersonalists and personalists, and each of them has 3 stages. Makes 6. For those saintly persons who wish to rise to the platform of yogi perfection, the means consists of practicing the yoga system by strictly following its regulative principles and practices, the yoga postures, asanas, and breathing exercises. And for those who are already elevated to this platform, the means consists of maintaining mental equilibrium by rejecting all material activities and practicing meditation to keep the mind on the Supreme Lord. These actually quotation from the Bhagavad Gita 6.3 and 6.4. When a person is no longer interested in acting for sense gratification, and when he renounces all material desires, he is said to be situated in perfect yoga. And that perfect yoga is called Yoga Rudha. And then text 61. When a purified yogi associates with devotees, he engages in Lord Krishna's devotional service, being attracted by the Lord's transcendental qualities. And that's the whole idea of the Atmaram verse, right? That the yogi actually becomes attracted towards Krishna, because Krishna is all attractive. So even the self-realized, they become attracted towards Krishna. And then text 162. The meaning of the words cha and api can be applied here. The meanings of the words muni and nirgramanta are the same as before. And then text 63, the word ahituki is always applicable to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Urukrama. In this way I have described 13 complete meanings of the Atmaram verse. So that's kind of the section which describes yogis, like that the word Atmaram can also be understood as these different kinds of yogis. So I would like to get back to this beautiful text from the Bhagavatam 3:28-34, where it's described that when one is in ecstatic love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one's heart is melted by Bhakti Yoga, and one feels transcendental bliss. Has your heart already melted? That's what is meant to happen, no? When we practice Bhakti Yoga, then our heart should melt, and one feels transcendental bliss. And it's interesting. Srila Prabhupada gave here a translation and his purport. But when we look at Srila Vishnava Chakravarti Thakur, we find a slightly different way of commenting on this text, which is completely fine. As we know, most of the time Prabhupada very closely follows Vishnava Chakravarti Thakur, like very, very closely. Sometimes acharyas also have, different opinion. In a sense, they just take a Sanskrit word and interpret it in a slightly different way, and from this a different meaning comes. And that's perfectly fine, as there is always different ways to interpret this text. So basically Prabhupada's point here is that, and we will see it in Prabhupada's translation, Prabhupada makes the point that in the beginning, like actually the yoga process is a mechanical process. You kind of take your mind and with your intelligence and you focus it and you push an endeavor, in a way, right? But then the point is, if someone is actually in love with Krishna, then that kind of force or that pushing of the mind is not anymore required, because the mind has become the friend and the mind is naturally attracted towards Krishna. So that's what Prabhupada focuses on. Prabhupada speaks on how the mind in the beginning is kind of is focused, then the mind becomes naturally attracted. Srila Vishnavacharya Thakur, he explains a little different, and I just read his translation and a part of the purport. The unfortunate yogi who has developed love for the Lord, full of all sweet qualities, whose heart is somewhat soft because of devotion, whose body hairs stand on end in ecstasy, who is constantly overcome with intense tears of joy, gradually withdraws his hook-like mind from the Lord's form. You see? I read again Prabhupada's translation. By following this course, the yogi gradually develops pure love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. In the course of his progress in devotional service, the hairs on his body stands erected through excessive joy, and is constantly bathed in a stream of tears occasioned by intense love. Gradually, even the mind, which he used as a means to attract the Lord, as one attracts a fish to a hook, withdraws from material activity. So Prabhupada says, the mind is withdrawing from material activity, and the yogi has attained love. But Vishnavacharya Thakur says, the foolish yogi, he has fixed his mind on Krishna, but then at some point he withdraws his mind again from Krishna away, and in this way he's not attaining perfection. You see, it's a different explanation. Don't be confused. Too late. Vishnavacharya Thakur begins, the unfortunate yogi, he although his heart, and he says actually the heart is attracted to Krishna, but then the yogi forcefully takes the mind again away. That's why he's foolish and he's not attaining perfection. Why? Because it's interesting. Because in Jnana Yoga, you have the idea that you use something, you use Jnana, knowledge, and then once you attain liberation, you kind of detach yourself from Jnana. Or you, like the example of you take a boat and you cross the ocean, and then or you go up a ladder and then you throw away the ladder. You just take something as a means to attain the perfection. And then once you attain perfection, you don't need the ladder anymore. But bhakti is different. You never reject bhakti. You use bhakti to attain perfection, and then the perfection is also bhakti. It's not that you throw away bhakti. But here the yogis, they take a process like Ashtanga Yoga, Jnana, and then once they attain perfection, they reject. So here the yogi, he takes help of bhakti, but then he rejects bhakti also. Huh? Yeah, he's foolish. The foolish yogi, who receiving great mercy and experiencing the sweetness of meditation on the Lord's pastime, rejects it because he's not fixed in that taste. So he has, although the heart develops some attraction, somehow he's not really fixed in that taste. He's considered low class among yogis. Even though he's steady in yoga, he's cheated by bhakti rasa. He's cheated of bhakti rasa, not by. He's cheated of bhakti rasa. This yogi has attained, this is now from the purport of Vishnavad. This yogi has attained bhava for the Supreme Lord, full of nectar of all sweetness and powers, since the Lord is most attractive, possessing the 6 bhagas, or 6 opulences. Pratilabdha, besides meaning to attain, suggests that he receives but does not respond appropriate. So he gets the mercy because he meditates on the form of the Lord. He gets mercy, but his interaction is not properly. Thus, the meaning is, though he received bhava for the sweet form of the Lord, though his heart melted, at least to some degree, and though his hair stood on end, and though he was constantly afflicted with streams of tears, causing by longing, he withdraws the hook of his mind from that form. And it's said that one should give up jnana to attain liberation, but there is no rule to give up bhakti to attain liberation. On the contrary, it's forbidden to give up bhakti, for it is just been said in the previous verse, one should not desire to see anything except Vishnu. Therefore the yogi gives up the sweet form only by his foolish decision. And then he gives an analogy. Because his heart is like a hook, this was described, the hook, he gives up that sweet form. Let me see. This means that the heart, which was inundated with the sweetness of the Lord, then begins to negate that eagerness for sweetness of the Lord and distance himself. And then he gives an example. The hook, though always bathed in the waters of the sacred Ganga. Someone maybe fishes in the Ganges. I don't know who's doing that, but some people maybe throw also a hook into the Ganges and they want to get some Ganges fish. So although the hook always is in the water of the sacred Ganges, remains permanently crooked. That hook remains crooked, without appreciating of rasa. It is also a cheater because it covers its point with bits of sweet food for attracting greedy fish. On the top of the hook there is some worm or something to attract. So this way the hook is also a cheater. The hook is cheating. It looks very tasty for the fish, but actually the fish is caught. So the hook remains crooked and is also a cheater. The yogi's heart is thus condemned by this analogy. Though purified by the holy place, it remains hard and crooked and makes a show, covering its nature with devotional meditation to attract the Lord. So just as the hook remains crooked and cheating, similarly the heart of the yogi remains also crooked, and he's actually cheating. He meditates about the Lord, but he's not really getting the benefit out of it. Okay, that's one way to look at the shloka, which Vishnava Chakravarti Thakur gives the explanation. Now, we go back to Srila Prabhupada's explanation, and therein, Prabhupada focused more on the fact that meditation is mechanical, and the mind needs to be forced, but once meditation is become more advanced, then the mind naturally becomes attracted. And then there is no requirement of force. That's why bhakti is always superior to other processes. Because in bhakti, we have a spontaneous attraction. Right? So, Srila Prabhupada's purport. Here it is clearly mentioned that meditation, which is an action of the mind, is not that perfect stage of samadhi or absorption. In yoga we have these different stages, and samadhi is the final stage, and samadhi means full immersion, whereas the stages before, then there is some mechanical endeavor to concentrate. But samadhi means, you're just absorbed. In the beginning, the mind is employed in attracting the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but in the higher stages there is no question of using the mind. A devotee becomes accustomed to serving the Supreme Lord by purification of the senses. In other words, the yoga principles of meditation are required as long as one is not situated in pure devotional service. So if one actually practices bhakti, then the mind naturally is attracted to Krishna. No need some mechanical. One becomes so habituated that he automatically engages in the personal service of the Lord. When a mind forcibly is engaged upon the form of the Lord, this is called nirbija yoga, or lifeless yoga. For the yogi does not automatically engage in the personal service of the Lord. But when he is constantly thinking of the Lord, that is called sabhija yoga, or living yoga. One has to be promoted to the platform of living yoga. So that's a very interesting expression. Prabhupada speaks of the lifeless yoga and the living yoga. So what kind of yoga are you practicing? I mean, I'm asking myself, of course. Is it a dead yoga or a living yoga? And I will come back to this point. One should engage in a service of the Lord 24 hours. The stage of Premanjana Churita can be attained by developing complete love. When one's love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his devotional service, is fully developed, one always sees the Lord, even without artificially meditating on his form. His vision is divine because he has no other engagement. At this stage of spiritual realization, it is not necessary to engage in the artificiality. Like it's very natural. Since the meditation recommended in the lower stages is a means to come to the platform of devotional service, those already engaged in the transcendental loving service are above such meditation. This stage is perfect. Perfection is called Krishna consciousness. Now it's interesting, Prabhupada speaks of this living and death yoga. And when we look at the Srimad Bhagavatam in Kapila Shiksha, in the 28th chapter, Kapila Dev describes actually the Astanga yoga, like how the yogi practicing meditation. And the meditation which is described here, right? How a yogi meditates upon the limbs of the Lord, all the different bodily features of Paramatma. Like the yogi meditates on the lotus feet, which they are marked with thunderbolt, gada, banner, lotus, different symbols on the feet. And then he meditates on the knees and the thighs, which are the thighs of the Lord, or the storehouse of all energy, is described. Then his navel, which is moon-like, in the center of his abdomen, and this navel is the foundation of the entire universe, because from that navel comes the lotus flower, right? In which stem all the universes all the planetary systems are contained. And then one meditates on the chest of the Lord, the neck, the arms. The arms are the source of all powers of the demigods. Then a Sudarshan chakra, who has 1,000 spokes. And then, the mala, which is always surrounded by bumblebees, right? And then the mani, the pearl necklace around his neck. What is the pearl necklace representing? It represents the pure living entities who are always engaged in his service. Nice meditation. Pearl neck. We are there. We are part of the pearl neck. When we actually engage in his service. And then his lotus face, of course, his nose, his cheeks, his curly hair, the eyebrows, his eyes soothe the most fearful threefold agonies of his devotees. Just seeing his eyes, one becomes free from fear. And then his glance accompanied by loving smiles. And that smile of the Lord drives away the ocean of tears caused by intense grief. In the material world, there is an ocean of tears. Remember, like an ocean, it's quite a vast body of water. How much tears are required to fill an ocean? But the material world is such a place. It's a place, an ocean of tears, because there is so much suffering, so much difficulties. But just seeing the smiling face of the Lord, one will be free from all anxiety. And the eyebrows, which is manifested by his internal potency in order to charm Cupid. Like we are all charmed by the god of love or lust, but Krishna is so much more attractive than the Cupid himself. So in this way the yogi meditates, and in that same section, Kapila Dev, or not in that same section, but in the same Kapila Shiksha, we find the following instruction by Kapila Dev. He says, Nehayat karma dharmaya na viragyaya kalpate na tirthapade sevyaya jivan api mrito hisa. Anyone whose work is not meant to elevate him to religious life, anyone whose religious, ritualistic performance do not raise him to renunciation, and anyone situated in renunciation that does not lead him to devotional service, to the personality of Godhead, must be considered dead, although he is breathing. So, if someone works, that work should one lead to religion. If someone is religious, that religion should lead to detachment. And if someone is detached, that should lead to devotion. And if this is not the case, then a person actually is dead. Although he may breathe, he seems to be alive, he walks and tries to enjoy life, but actually he's dead in a way. Because if there is no bhakti, then the essence of life is missing. So, and then it's interesting, Prabhupada speaks of this nirbija yoga and sabhija yoga, which means the lifeless yoga and the living yoga, right? And this is in accordance with the Bhagavatam, with Kapila's instruction to Devahuti. It's also interesting that His Holiness Sachinanand Swami has published a book which is called The Living Name, right? You know this book? So, Living Name, which is the same principle here. You know, are we chanting a dead name? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Ram? Or are we chanting a living name where we actually, feel the Lord's presence? Yeah. So, just thought we can reflect a little bit on this topic, and then we come to a conclusion. Sometimes, because I think it's a good question. Is my bhakti, my sadhana, is it a living practice or is it a dead practice? Is my bhakti alive or is it dead? And sometimes spiritual life can become a little bit mechanic, right? Like especially for those, for everyone, householders also, they have, at home you also have your routine, you have your daily practice. And what to speak of the temple where we have the morning program, sadhana, everything. So basically each morning, 4:30, we are here in a temple room, 365 days in a year, almost. Sometimes we maybe miss Mangalarti, but let's say 360 days. 5 days we maybe miss, if you're very strong. But most of the time we are there for the Mangalarti. And if you look from outside, this sounds kind of quite a rigid, strong, and it can become a little bit ritualistic because every day we sing the same song. It's not that we have different songs, right? It's Sangsara Dhava Nadalita Loka, and every day the same. And of course, what to speak of japa? There's Hare Krishna, it's the same mantra. There's not so much variety, the same 3 words. Hare Krishna and Rama, which we just repeat for hours and hours every day. So there is different symptoms of mechanical practice. These are Keshav Maharaj spoke about this, which I found interesting. So when we hear the following statements, we can ask ourselves: Would you answer yes to any of the above statements? Yes, this is how I also sometimes feel. And if you have too many yeses, then your practice is dead yoga. Okay, so hopefully not too many yeses. So I fit in my practice as opposed to prioritizing a suitable time of a day. Like I'm so busy that. Yes, I know I should chant 16 rounds. Somehow I fit it in. It's not really my priority, because I have so many other things. So somehow I chant a little bit here, chant a little bit there, like that. I multitask my practice as opposed to give them exclusive focus and attention. I chant my rounds, but maybe in between I check my mobile. I do different things, or I drive the car and chant my rounds. That's multitasking, right? It's not just there's myself and Krishna and but it's myself, Krishna, and the road, and the traffic light in between. Krishna, Krishna, it's green. Krishna, Krishna, it's red, I have to stop. Then the next one, I have no serious plans or desire to increase and enhance my practice. Basically, I'm happy that I can survive somehow or other, right? And whether my chanting is actually good or not, it doesn't matter so much. At least I chant my 16 rounds, somehow or other, right? Next one. I look for excuses and justification to neglect my spiritual practices. Well, to read every day is a little hard, and I'm so busy, and so I'm not reading every day. Although actually I could read every day because I don't have to read a whole hour. I can just read one shloka, But I find excuses to not do my sadhana properly. And I lack quality remembrance of the goal and purpose while performing my spiritual practices. While I'm practicing, I'm not really thinking so much what is actually the goal of my practice. And the mind frequently wanders during my practices, and I happily let it travel. My mind travels, and I happily let it travel. I chant Hare Krishna, and mind goes off here and there, and I happily go with the mind, and like that. So if there is several times yes, then that means your practice most probably has become a little bit mechanical. Yeah. I mean, and that's most probably true for most of us. I mean, certainly I also see some of these traits are there. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subharashi Shigo Nitai Ki Jai. So, and that is the same. We can do the same exercise in a more positive way. Should we do it?
Yes.
Okay, because this was a little bit depressive, right? So the positive way is to this again. It's like a test of spiritual advancement. So the following statements are basically Keshav Maharaj did a study of what are the symptoms of advancement, and he put it into question or put it into statements. And if you hear the statements, you can see if you can grade yourself from, I don't know, to give here. Yeah, I think from 1 to 5 or so. The other from 1 to 10. You can grade yourself. How much is it true? Let me see. Yes, I think here. Yeah, if you like, you can mark yourself if you want to do a spiritual health check. And if you think it counts for you very strongly, I'm offering. If you think it counts to you very strongly, then it's a 5. And if you think it doesn't really apply to you, it is a 0 or a 1. So, and everything in between is at different degrees. So you can count in your mind. So I make a statement, and if you think yes, this is fully right, give yourself a 5. And if you think no, that's not at all what it is, then give yourself a 0. And if it's somewhere in between, maybe a 2, a 3, 4, right? Okay. And it's 7 questions. So 7 times 5 you can calculate, hopefully. Otherwise you take your handy and you can calculate. I am eager and enthusiastic to grasp new insights in Krishna consciousness. I have some enthusiasm to learn something about Krishna consciousness. I'm eager to always know something new. And of course that eagerness shows that I study, I read books, I happily go to class, I'm listening carefully because I want to grasp something new. How much does this apply? Next one, 2. I have spiritual friendships where I can be completely honest with the other person. At least I have at least one person I have where I can open my heart fully. I don't have to be ashamed. I can tell anything. There's no secrets in front of that person. Do I have such friendships? No. You can mark 0, means you don't have any friends. And 5, yes, you have such a friend you can open. 3, I think about the ultimate goal of life that I have on a daily basis. I think that's a powerful one. What is the ultimate goal of life? Krishnaprema. No, it's to attain pure love of God. How often do I actually think about, this is what I want. I want to love Krishna. I want to develop that loving relationship. I really want to feel attraction. I really want to, when I chant the holy name, I really want to feel that loving connection with Krishna. How often do I think about this? I mean, here the question is, the statement is, I, on a daily basis, do that. How much is this true? 4, I'm focused and present while doing spiritual activities. While chanting, while hearing, I'm focused, very much focused. Krishna, Krishna. Maximum is 5. And it's good if you're a little honest about yourself. The next one, I feel really happy when I see, that's a tough one. I feel really happy when I see other spiritual people striving and finding success in their spiritual journey. Basically means there is no envy. If someone else is doing very, very well, distributing much more books than I distribute, singing much nicer than I sing, giving much better classes than I can give, dressing the deities much beautifuler than I can, how do I feel about? If I feel very happy about it, that's a sign of spiritual advancement. 6, my spiritual goals are more exciting than my material goals. We all have different goals in life. We want to make a career and do our studies. We want to get married. We want to have a beautiful, wonderful husband or wonderful wife, and we want to achieve this and that. But what is more important to us is the spiritual goals or the material goals. And the last, I have great hope that I will make it to spiritual perfection in this life. In this life I can actually attain Krishnaprema and go back to Godhead. So I think this is a very nice reflection. And if I can answer these, if I can answer several of these questions with the high grade, then it means my spiritual life is quite healthy.
Sorry, could you repeat the last question?
I have great hope that I will attain perfection in this life. So we had eagerness, 1, 2, friendship, 3, goal of life, 4, focused, 5, no envy, 6, spiritual goals, and 7, great hope. And if all of these are applying in your life, then you're doing quite good. Then you're on a good.
If you have 35, then not good.
Yeah. If you have counted 35, then maybe something is wrong. Right. So in this way, Prabhupada makes the point that when one actually meditates about the Lord in devotion, then the mind is very naturally attracted. And then there is no need to mechanically focus or push the mind on Krishna. And this is also explained in the Madhurya Kadambini. Vishnu Thakur gives an explanation. We spoke about this before previously, that on the platform of Ashakti, the mind is very naturally attached to Krishna. Oh, my mind is being carried away by material desires. Let me fix it on Krishna. This is usually our state, right? We try to focus on Krishna, but then the mind goes away to material things. Prior to Asakti, one realizes his mind has been overpowered by material objects and desires. And the devotee, by his deliberate effort, always withdraws his mind from them and tries to fix it on the form of the Lord. Right? It says even up to Nishta. Nishta means one is really fixed. Still, sometimes the mind just wanders away. Because that's the nature of the mind. You know, you want to fix it on Krishna, but the mind goes away. The appearance of asakti, however, absorption of the mind in the Lord is automatic, without effort. And this is what Prabhupada refers to. There is no mechanical effort because the mind is naturally attracted. Even on the stage of Nishta, a devotee is unable to detect how and when his mind withdraws from topics of the Lord and soon fixes itself on material affairs. On the contrary, at the stage of Ashakti, one does not know how and when his mind withdraws from material topics and spontaneously absorbs itself in topics of the Lord. One below level of Ashakti never experienced this. Only a devotee on the level of Asakti can know what it means. So basically, like, now we try to chant, I want to think of Krishna, and then the mind goes away. Oh, today I have to do my bookkeeping. The mind goes away. But on the level of Asakti, it's the other way around. You do your bookkeeping, and all of a sudden the mind goes away, and we think of Radha and Krishna. So it's just the opposite. Because the mind is very naturally attracted. And that's what is the goal. And when the mind is very naturally attracted, then that's a living yoga, living practice. And certainly we should try to strive for having a very experiencing a very living, alive spiritual practice. And these questions that we went through, what are the mechanical symptoms of mechanical spirituality, and the 7 statements to test our spiritual advancement, these things maybe can help us a little bit to analyze our own state of affair in this regard. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Any comments or questions? We have 2-3 minutes left. Yes.
Thank you so much for your lecture. When you were telling about the parts we can give ourselves and to observe how you're doing, I was thinking of, like, I observed myself how I was thinking to myself, yeah, I'm doing quite good actually. And if we have like 30 or more, isn't it the sign that we are totally too proud and we have to be careful?
Yes, that's the right conclusion. Yeah, it's this kind of introspection. It's important to be very, very honest, and like the one on a daily basis, I think of the goal of life. You know, are we really doing that? And okay, thinking, not just thinking in the sense of really feeling. Krishna, I want to be with you. Krishna, I want to develop that love. How often do we do that? You know, mostly we're so busy with the external that this is not cultivated enough. And how much we are really focused always. So I think if you're a little bit introspective, we can see.
Do you think others can judge you about this also better?
Others, I mean, maybe those who are very close. I don't know if you live in a Grihastha ashram. I guess your partner can tell because he can see really how much you're absorbed, or a spiritual master if he knows you very well. But in some of the things, it's really that you're because it's something between you and Krishna. It's very internal. Krishna is there in your heart. Krishna is the one who knows all your thoughts, your feelings, your desires. No one else has that ability to really. The guru also, the spiritual master who is connected to Paramatma, can also get such insights. But otherwise, it will be difficult for an outside person to judge. Mhm.
You were telling once, this is the this is the definition of Krishna consciousness, and I just missed it.
Most probably it was not me, but Prabhupada in his purport. Yeah. Those already engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord are above such meditation, like above such mechanical meditation. Those who are naturally absorbed in Krishna consciousness, they are above mechanic meditation. This stage of perfection is called Krishna consciousness. Yeah. This is from the purport of Prabhupada. Yes.
I want to say something about the first question.
Mm-hmm.
You read about the life of our acharyas. They always feel I have no attraction to Krishna. I never think of Krishna. I'm so full and so on and so on. I mean, it's a good answer. They have 0 points.
Yeah, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Shikshasaka Mahaprabhu is lamenting, no? Oh Lord, although you have invested all your energies, all your powers in the holy name, but unfortunately, I don't have any attraction to these names. So, yeah, good point. Very sobering discussion this morning, huh? I'm sorry for that.
Thank you very much, Hari.
Hare Krishna.
It's really nice, very thoughtful and provoking within ourselves. Question I wanted to ask you. Was that in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "As all who surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path eventually." But when we see the jnanis and the bhaktis, they all want to follow. They want to meditate and serve Krishna. But when we see the impersonalists, although they believe in Krishna, but there's an impersonal feature, do they eventually get to that spiritual realm of bhakti yoga?
Well, when we speak of the impersonalists, usually we differentiate between the Brahmavadis and the Mayavadis. If someone is just a Brahmavadi in a sense of an impersonalist, just meditating on the impersonal aspect of the truth, then such a person cannot, there is always a chance for such a person to be elevated by, especially in contact with devotees, such a person can elevate it to become a bhakta. But for a Mayavad, of course, in the association of devotees, maybe even a Mayavad can be turned, as we see in the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who, I think Prakashasananda Saraswati, the Mayavadi sannyasi, with his 60,000 disciples, they were all converted by Mahaprabhu in Varanasi, which is one of the greatest success of Mahaprabhu's preaching. This is like Chaitanya Maharaj and his disciples, like they all of course, they don't require, but like just the amount, it's amazing. Like Mahaprabhu just, turned around their understanding by his potency. So from this, of course, Mahaprabhu is God himself, but from this we can see that a powerful preacher may, in the association of devotee, they may turn, but usually it's more the Brahmavadi who gets such a chance because they have not committed any offenses, whereas the Mayavadi actually, just by their understanding, actually they are aparadis, as Mahaprabhu also says. So if someone is an aparadi, commits an offense against the Lord, the form of the Lord, it will be more difficult for them to actually get that perfection. Yeah. All right, we will end here. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. drink.
Krishna who really very good. Yeah. Okay. ಇಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದು ಮೇಸರಿಲ್ಲದೆ ನಾವು ನಾನು ಮಂಗಳವಾರ నాకు నామినీలో వందల మాసం ಇವತ್ತು ಪಡಿಬೇಕು ನೀವೇ ಹೇಳಿ ಹೋಗಿ Who's it?
Krishna Krishna